Hey, good morning, everybody. About 6 o'clock in the morning here. I made that that roast chicken last night. Oh, so good. No, delicious. Anyway, today I am going to I saved the carcass, and my son never came home to eat the breast, so I got more breast meat to make with meal today. But I'm going to strip all the meat off of this. I'm going to be putting it into a pot. We're going to add some veggies. And we're going to make some chicken bone broth today that we're going to use for another meal. So it's either going to be a soup, or I'm kind of leaning towards making something maybe with no cheese or some raviolis. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. Okay, this is what we're doing. We're just taking our chicken and we're just going to tear it off. And I'm going to throw it into a bag. This is going to go in the refrigerator. And we're going to use that later on for another meal. I don't have to be really super fancy with it because I plan on shredding it up anyway when I go to use it. But we're just getting these big breasts off. Oh, look how nice that big piece is. Oh, look how beautiful this meat is. Just cooked up so wonderful by roasting it that way. I highly recommend, if you're going to do it, roast your own. I know you can buy them really cheap in the store, and I do occasionally. But I will tell you that roasting your own is just so much more flavor. So we'll set that down. Get the rest of this little bit of meat here. So we got a nice bit of meat here. There's plenty of meat for a meal. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to split it in half. Now remember, I had those oranges in there that I roasted. So we're just going to toss those out. We're not going to use those. Okay, this is going to go into the pot. Then I'm going to start cutting some veggies and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, folks. And I just wanted to show you, remember how I told you I use up a lot of my veggies to make other things? So remember I had cut these in half the other day when I was making my pork carnitas. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, in that stem part, I'm just going to throw it in my pot. And I'm going to throw these back in the bag because we're going to probably use these with our meal either today or tomorrow. And they'll keep for at least one more day if I need to. But we take those pieces, we throw those into our pot. So there's our pot so far. We've got pieces of pepper in there. We've got our chicken in there. We're going to take an onion, and I'm just going to use a whole onion. A lot of times I have part of onions left over. I just don't at the moment. But I'm just going to take the whole onion, skin and all, and toss that into the pot too, because we're going to be straining this when it's all done. Now I've got some celery. So we're going to take off some of the celery. That adds some really good flavor. Okay, so, and don't buy the celery hearts in the store. They're way more expensive. You get the same thing, it only takes a little bit of labor. And the easiest thing to do is to take your knife and chop off that top part. Just toss upside. And then bottom part, do the same thing. These just need to be rough chopped. So that's gone into our pot. Now I bought some nice curly parsley. So we're going to add that to our pot also. And we're going to use the bottoms. So remember I cut that tops off? We're going to be using that. That's the good stuff. We're going to take the bottoms and throw them in there. And I've got one more bunch of parsley because I was going to use it for a couple different meals this week. But again, same thing. And we cut off those bottoms and throw that in there. That's what our pot looks like. Now we're just going to add water. We're going to cook this and simmer it all day long. Now, I may not end up using it for a meal tonight. It may end up being for tomorrow. I'll have to taste it and see how it goes. But we're going to cook this for at least 12 hours. So remember that. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned. Okay, we're back real quick. Just want to show you, I filled the pot up with water. So now that's going. We're going to put in some kosher salt. And that is about a teaspoon. A little bit, but maybe a teaspoon and a quarter of kosher salt. And now we're going to let this cook. So we're going to put our lid on top of it. And this is going to cook for 12 hours minimum. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Okay, just so you can get an idea what I've got it set at. So that's where I've got the temperature set at. And that's what's going on. Oh, what a big pot of deliciousness going on here. So anyway, stay tuned. Okay, folks, Taking a little peek in here. Ooh, that is looking so good. So anyway, we're making our chicken stock. It's our bone broth, chicken bone broth, and it's basically chicken stock is what I'm making. The veggies and everything just going to add way more flavor to everything. So we'll be back in a little while. We're going to be straining that out. It's got a couple more hours to go, and then we're going to be making some dinner. All right, we're back. So our bone broth has been going now for about 12 hours roughly. So we're going to drain this. We're going to pour it into another pan. And what I'm going to do is pour it through a strainer. And so we're going to strain everything out of it. So make sure you use a fine mesh strainer like that. Strain everything out of it. And then we're going to have nice broth to work with. And this is going to be some delicious soup. So I've already been thinking about what I'm going to do. And I decided to kind of go with kind of a Italian flair. So I had some cheese here, or tortellini, some cheese tortellinis, and I decided I was going to use these. And so we're going to use some celery, some carrots, some bell peppers, some Italian curly parsley, onion, and we're going to use some regular green pepper, and we're going to make ourselves a really nice soup for tonight. It's going to be a nice hearty, stick to your ribs kind of soup, and it's snowing out, so why not? Sounds good. Stick with us. And you're seeing me pouring this out through, so you can kind of see what I'm doing, and I'm trying to keep as much of it in my original pot as I can. So that's what we got left. We'll put that into our sink. This is our strainer. And so that's the only thing that I really caught, in the strainer, because I was trying to get this as nice and clear as possible. So in looking with this, we have a lot of stock here. So I'm going to reserve half of this and I'm going to freeze it. Now, just to give you a little hint, you can do whatever you want. It just works really well for me, but I freeze stocks a lot. And what I do is I put them into a freezer bag, and I use the 1 quart size. So a nice Ziploc bag. So, and make sure it's a freezer one, so it's heavy duty. Wait till the stock cools down, and that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the stock cool down. And once it completely cools down to a reasonable temperature, it can't be so hot it's going to melt my bags. I'm going to first write on my bag what kind of stock it is, the date, and then I'm going to fill it up. And when I go to fill it up, I'm not going to fill it completely. You want to leave some space because you want to get that air out of there at the very end and zip it nice and tight. If you lay that down inside your freezer, it'll freeze nice and flat in little squares. So it makes it easy for stacking in your freezer. So just a little hint, whether you want to do it or not is up to you. But stay tuned. We are going to cut this in half, and then we're going to start adding all our ingredients and making our soup. Okay, we're back. And what I did was I transferred everything out of this pot into the secondary pot. And then what I did was I cleaned out the pot. And now, because it's a bigger pot and I want to use this one for my soup, so the stock that we just made, we're going to pour in about half. And just a bit more. There we go. So this is what I'm going to reserve. And that's going to go in, and that's about to fill 1 quart bag. I should take just a little, there we go. That'll fill 1 quart bag. So then that stock is so good. We'll be able to use it for all sorts of different things. So that is that's just like gold. So anyway, this is what it's going to be, our soup, and it's going to be more of a thicker, closer towards a stew, but not quite, but it'll still be soupy. So, and it's going to be a clear broth. So stick with us, and we'll be back, and we'll get to cooking. Okay, we're back, and we're going to start cutting up stuff and adding it to our soup. So, what I would like to start with first is I'm going to turn my soup up. We're going to bring this up to a low boil. So, there's the soup pot over there, and I just turned it up to a low boil. So, we'll start bringing that up to temperature. And that broth was still warm. That's why I still have the other pot sitting off to the side for it to cool so that we can use that to freeze later on. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut my carrots up. So we're going to add these carrots, and that's about half the bag of what we had from the other night. that we used up. And all I'm going to do is just do a rough chop because this is going to be kind of like a home style, you know, a chunkier type of a soup. Just a good hearty soup. And like I say, it's a cold winter day today, and it's been dark a lot. It's just the time of the year here, but it has been really pretty cold and started snowing out. First we had some freezing rain come in, and then it turned into snow, and so I thought this would be a nice meal for tonight. I just hang in, and I don't know if a friend or two might stop by once in a while. They do, and if so, I've got a big pot of soup already cooked up. So our carrots are going to go inside, so we're going to add those. Not the one from the floor. Okay, I've got my celery already here ready, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that up and do a nice fine chop on that. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to do our green pepper here. And remember, we had those other colored peppers that we saved. Those other halves. Well, I'd saved those in the fridge. And those are ready to go now too. So, with these, we're just going to do a kind of a rough chop on them. So they're like bites, you know, about a good chunky bite size. So that's kind of the size that we're looking for here. And we got a red one and we got an orange one. All these bright colors. Oh, I love that. Just, especially this time of the year. You know, you don't get a lot of fresh stuff this time of year. Well, you can now. When I was younger, you couldn't. But anyway, it's kind of nice. And I love all the colors. And I love all that color and flavor into the food. So, we just rough chopped all these bell peppers. Okay, then we're going to take our onion, and I'm using a white onion. It's a bit milder, so it's not a real strong flavored onion. So it's not a sweet onion either. Nah, we got to get that rid of that piece there. And again, we're going to do a rough chop, but a little bit finer than we did with the peppers. And that's mostly a people thing, because people just generally, as a rule, don't seem to like very big chunks of onion. So they're in there, you'll see them, but they're, you know, not the quite real large chunks that a lot of times are in. Okay, and then we're going to take some parsley. We got this nice curly parsley. Oh, smells just wonderful. So we're going to reserve some for garnishment too. But that's going to go into our soup pot. Okay, so at the moment, that's all that we're going to be putting in. Now remember, we do have our chicken breast all left over. We're going to chop this up, but this is going to go in at the very end. And just before that goes in, we'll be going in our tortellinis. Those are going to cook. Once they're cooked, we're going to add our chicken, bring it up to temperature, and then it'll be done and ready to serve. So stick with us. As you can see, we've got the pot coming to a nice simmering boil. We're going to let this go for about roughly an hour and 20 minutes. And it should be then nice and flavorful. We'll test it. We might add a couple little things to it. I'm thinking about adding some basil. I don't have any fresh basil, but I do have some in a tube that I could use. So I'm considering that, and possibly some small salt. So we'll be back in a little bit. Hi everybody, we're back. And we've been cooking our soup down. So this is coming along really, really nicely. So, give you a little peek at that. Oh, it's coming along just nicely. The aroma is wonderful. I'm glad I held back the other liquid because I wasn't really thinking completely through, but I should have remembered that I'm going to be sucking up some liquid with my noodles. So I'm glad I reserved it and hadn't bagged it yet. So I did decide I am going to add some basil, and it's just a squeeze bottle kind. And I'm doing about 2 tablespoons. Now, just so you keep in mind that it may sound like a lot, but it's really not because it's fresh. The fresh stuff, all your fresh herbs, you're going to need a little bit more of them in order to get the same amount of effect as the dried. So just keep that in mind. And with that, we're going to give that a quick stir. Now, I did taste it earlier, and it does need a little bit of salt. So I'm going to give it a punch of salt, just like that. And I'm going to add some fresh cracked pepper. Okay. So we are now going to add our tortellinis. And I'm going to turn my heat up a bit more, because we're going to bring that up to a little bit of a boil. Once it gets to that point, we're going to add the tortellinis. We're going to cover, let them absorb and cook, and they're going to cook for about 15 minutes roughly. So we're looking at about 15 minutes. During that time, I'm going to get our chicken ready, and we're only going to use half of this. So we're going to use the other half, and I'm going to be making some chicken raviolis, I think, tomorrow. So with that, we'll get going. Be back shortly. Okay, you can see we brought it up to a bit of a boil. So we're going to turn our heat down a little bit. And we're going to add our tortellinis. And that's going to cool it down. Okay. Now these are going to absorb quite a bit of moisture, and I'm not sure exactly how much. So once that happens, then we'll add more of the stock that we made. So that bone broth, chicken bone broth stock. That is a hard thing to say many times. Anyway, we're going to get that up, going. While we're doing that, we're going to get our chicken cut up. So I'll move you back up over here into the board. And I already took out part of that chicken. So the only thing I wanted to do is make sure that I had not had any bones left in here, because that's something you got to be careful of. You don't want anybody choking on a bone. That would be bad, bad business. Even though this isn't business, still, I don't want any of my friends choking on a bone, and I sure don't want to choke on a bone. And my son would probably get really pretty angry at me if he choked on a bone, because he doesn't even like meat on a bone. Oh, thought that might have been a piece of the cartilage, but nope. Ah, I did find it. Thought there might be. So, yep, that piece right there. And then right here, add the bone right there. So I'm glad I went through that and paid attention. I probably should have paid attention a little bit better the first time through though, huh? I'm sure everybody's saying that in the background. Anyway, there we go. We've got our chicken done. This is going to go at the very end. So stay tuned, stay with us. We're also going to put some fresh grated Parmesan cheese or Romano. I'm not sure which I have open right now. Okay, we're back, folks. Timer just went off, so we're going to turn the heat off to this. Give that a quick stir and let you see what it looks like here real quick. So that's what it's looking like right now. We're going to add our chicken. And I'm just going to fold that in. So, see what I'm doing here? All I'm doing is just folding that chicken in. And we're going to let it rest. Just just like that. So we're going to take our lid, put it back on top. We've taken this off the heat, and we're going to let that sit. And we're going to let that sit. Let's set our timer, 999. It's an easy number, 999. So we'll be back shortly, and we'll be serving. Okay, we're back, and we have had our soup sitting here, and just the aromas are just wonderful coming off this. Now I want to tell you that I did stick in the remainder of the parsley. I chopped it up and put it in as fresh parsley right here at the very end, just like this. And now we're going to spoon in some. Oh, all right, one more. Yes. This looks so good. Okay. A couple sprigs of parsley there for our garnish. And I had Romano cheese in the refrigerator already ready to go. So that's what we're going to use. So some fresh grated Romano. Some fresh cracked pepper. And a little pinch of kosher salt. There we are. Well, thanks for watching. Keep in mind that we're going to be doing another chicken dish tomorrow. I'm going to be using up the rest of that breast meat, and we're going to make a chicken ravioli with like a Alfredo sauce. So, sounds really good, and I can't wait to do it myself. Thanks for watching.